Hello everyone and welcome to another car profile then, where we're looking at the Audi R8 LMS Evo. Yes, we've done the original Audi R8 that was in GT Sport. We now have the upgraded version in the Evo. This is a naturally aspirated engine car, 5.2 litre V10 engine, and as you know, I love that V10 engine. MR car, of course, a mid-engined rear-wheel drive with 6 gears. Now, this is actually one of the newest race models in GT7. Obviously, it's a rework of the original Audi R8 LMS GT3 car, and there's actually a newer version of this Evo. It's called the Evo 2 that is now racing. Literally with this car, I am one of the AI characters in the game, which I do love the fact, and that's because I raced with them in 2019 in terms of Audi, and I do love the Audi R8. It's one of my favorite cars, one of my dream cars, as you know. A great handling car. It does suffer with the MR curse, though, of huge weight transfer, which we'll talk about in the car profile. Let's jump into the first track then, the first test that we do, which is a low-speed bop test if you're new to these car profiles. There is a low, medium, and high-speed bop in Gran Turismo. At the moment, they're all the same in terms of the bop values. However, we've picked a low, a medium, and a high-speed circuit, and we look to see where these cars sit. So, we go to Laguna Seca, which is our low-speed test here, and we get to Sector 1 here. And believe it or not, well, the Audi R8 LMS Evo is up here, ladies and gentlemen. It is up, then, on the Toyota Supra racing concept, then, as we head towards this left-hander. So, obviously, this is an MR car. So, MR cars are naturally a much better handling car than an FR car, just because of where the weight sits here. Head towards this left-hander, then. I did enjoy this left-hander in this car. Look at it just go through there so nicely indeed. It really did. And the car you're racing or seeing down in that bottom right hand side is actually the fastest car we've done here at the moment, which is the Toyota GR Super Racing concept, where we've done a car profile already. We're down here then, we are still up here on that Toyota Supra, 11,000 up then, as we head towards the last few corners here, as we chuck it into the right-hander, go on through here very nicely indeed, and head up to the final corner here, hard on the brakes, and first gear, round we go. Oh, just missed the apex a little bit there. We'll see how that suffers in terms of the fastest lap at the end. We do actually compare optimum laps, not just the fastest lap. Fastest lap is just what you see here, and as you see, we beat the Toyota Supra at Laguna Seca. But we do compare optimums to get the overall picture, because it's very easy to get 10 optimum sectors than it is to get 10 very good fast laps. And that is what we do here then. So let's have a look at the table. And the Audi R8 LMS Evo comes in at number 1 there. 121.281. Does beat its predecessor there by 0.2 of a second. Beats the Toyota Supra as well. Brilliant stuff there from the Audi. And it's what we expect really in terms of handling. It's a very much handling circuit. But the low-speed bop test, that's what the whole point is. These cars should be very similar in terms of pace. The medium speed test, then we go to Suzuka. That's what it's categorized as. Coming into turn 1, I didn't suffer as much oversteer as I did with the original car into turn 1. It was very much still there, but it was a bit reduced, in my opinion, compared to the original car. Coming into the S's, then we go through the left and the right there, and we're looking for 33.610 in terms of the Toyota Supra, which again is the fastest car that we've raced at the moment. Is it going to be 2 for 2? That is the question. Going through the right-hander then, and it's a 33.492. We're up on the Supra by 1/10 of a second there on that right-hand side as we continue towards Tidgney 1 and Tidgney 2 then. In on the brakes, and I had to be careful that bump a little bit hit there at Tidgney on the curb there. It did suffer a little bit with it chucking it a bit over there, mainly because there's no weight over that front end. Crossing the Sector 2 time then, 4 thousandths up. That gap has closed there significantly as we go into the hairpin. Now, being an MR car, weight over the rear wheels, you can accelerate out these hairpins very nice and easy. So slow speed corners is where this does very well, because there's very little power oversteer as we continue towards Spoon them and heading in towards this corner. One thing I did find with this car, and in terms of Beat the Metro as well, it's very good on the brakes, this car. It really is. As we go into the second part of Spoon then, trying to get it turned, rotated round, and off we go out of there and continue on. Now, we do know that Supra is very good in terms of 5th and 6th gear. It just pulls and pulls and pulls. And what are we going to get here in terms of sector times? That's the question. We are now 0.3 of a second down. That's how much that car pulls as we go through 130R. We maintain a huge speed there. 149 in terms of miles an hour. That is huge in terms of 130R. It shows you how good at handling this car actually is as we continue on out of there. Then I'm going to head towards the line. Once again, this is comparing faster slaps, but we look at optimums in the end. And as we cross that line then, we are 3.5 of a second down there on that Toyota Supra. So it doesn't get the fastest lap, but does it get it in terms of optimum then? That is the question, as we will load this leaderboard up for you right now. Where does it sit? P2 in the end then. So just below the Toyota Supra by 1.5 tenths there, but ahead of its predecessor again by 1.5 tenths. And I would argue that's because it's a little bit more stable. Not fully stable, but it's a little bit more stable than its predecessor there. So that is Suzuka in terms of the medium speed. What we'll do now is we'll go to the high-speed circuit, which for those that have been following, know it's Bathurst, but now you know if you're new to these car profiles. So coming into turn 1, it was actually not too bad through turn 1. Did suffer a little bit there, a little bit twitchy. Nothing major though. A lot of the cars are twitchy because of the bumpiness in that first corner. Head towards the first line then here at the high-speed test. And we're looking to try and beat that Supra, but we are 1.5 tenths down here. 98.2, one of the slowest times in terms of sector 1 I've seen actually in these faster laps. Going through here, I did struggle a little bit with understeer because I was either very high in the RPMs in second or low in third, and I really couldn't get it settled or nice there, really. Going to here, though, this is where it does work very nicely for this car. Just can boot it out of here, no problems at all. Not suffering with any power oversteer whatsoever. As we come up to here, you don't even have to lift for this corner. I lifted a little bit there just because I got it slightly wrong, but on other laps, I definitely didn't lift there. You could do that flat. Going through here, it's a slight lift. As we continue on through, coming up to the curb, then over we go, avoiding that front lifting up too much, then up into 5th gear we go, heading down the mountain now. What we're looking at, well, half a second. My word, that's huge. That is really huge. We're coming to the dipper then, and this bit is where it really struggles. You notice there the oversteer. Lots of our cars suffer there. I did suffer with this car a lot on that corner as I tried to push myself. Going down here into Forest Elbow, then through we go and accelerating out of there as quick as possible. But yeah, the weight transfer on that corner, definitely suffering with this car. Not as much as the predecessor to this car. That is definitely more unstable than this car with a full load of fuel in there. So that is something to think about when you're picking between the two Audi R8s that are available for you to pick. We're now nearly 7 tenths of a second down on that Supra, and obviously we're in the section where it's all about speed. In towards the braking zone again, you can brake last of the late breakers with this car. Obviously it's not carrying as much speed, but it does mean you can also brake later as well, and it's got very good brakes as we continue on out of there and head towards the final corner. Very stable there as well. In towards the braking zone we go. We're looking for a 201.9. Looking at our Optimum at the moment, we're nowhere near that as we cross there my time reference point there in terms of the bridge. We cross the line with 202.7, nearly 9 tenths per second down on that Toyota Supra. But we do get a bit more in terms of Optimum, and that Optimum actually comes down a bit more towards the end of the session as well. Right, here we go then with the leaderboard, and where do we sit? P7 then. So ahead of the Aston Martin, which is a big surprise, and of course ahead of the predecessor, because literally, as I say, it's a bit more stable than that car, and it seems to be a bit quicker as well. So that is it in terms of Bathurst. Then we're going to go to some fuel tests now. So I just want to put one caveat on here. I'm going to have to check some of the cars in terms of the fuel test, because the predecessor, I believe I've done the test slightly wrong, okay? So just keep that in mind when we look at the results here, because I'm going to go through and make sure the tests are accurate. So what we do, maximum RPM, what that means is when it gets to the end of the bar, we should shift. We have a quarter shift, because that's the best way to fuel save, is by getting low RPM shifts. And then the fuel map is last in terms of what you do in terms of fuel saving. We get towards the 2,000 meter line, which is where we measure this, and we can see that we cross the line with 57% fuel for the Audi R8 LMS Evo. On the right side, you can see we've very much saved a lot of fuel here because of the quarter shift. It shows you the significance there. And what we'll do is we'll advance a bit further, and it's 66%. So 9% saved there in terms of fuel on the quarter shift, which is a big. Obviously, it's a performance hit because this car, you do have to rev the nuts out of it. So it is a performance hit, and you can see that there as well. We'll show you that in the leaderboards. Then finally, the fuel map 3 there, down at the bottom, 73%. That's a fuel map and a quarter shift, which is literally emergency fuel saving. Quarter shift, lower the revs in terms of the engine, the more you save fuel. That is the biggest way to save fuel in terms of the cars. Let's have a look at some of these leaderboards then. Let's tell you and show you all the juicy gossip. So it doesn't even appear in the first top 10 there. So very much down on performance in terms of that side of it. You can see that there. It's not even in the top 10, which is kind of nuts to me. First car not to appear in the top 10. Obviously, that will increase. So the first time it appears there, 25.3. There's only the C7, which is worse there. So that's not a good showing at all here. Quarter shift then. You can see there it's P17 at the moment in terms of times, loses 0.3 of a second there, and it does actually beat a couple of other cars there. And Fuel Map 3, it's basically near the bottom, essentially. It does not fuel save at all, this car. It really does. Well, it does fuel save, but you lose performance as well because it doesn't have the power, and that is a significant part of this. You can see that in terms of the quarter shift then, so it's literally next to, well, P3, or bottom third, should I say, not P3. And then literally, if you map 3, it gains an additional position there over the Alfa Romeo. And so it does, you know, it's there. It's slow. It is slow using fuel map, and you can see that, and that's what we're showing here. In terms of fuel level, though, it does actually save quite a bit of fuel. Coming in at P8 there in fuel map 3, 16 saved, which is significant in terms of that. So it does save fuel. It just loses performance as well. Quarter shift, it saves 9 and only loses 0.3 of a second. Actually, that makes it one of the best there in terms of quarter shift and saving fuel in terms of its main one there. So actually, it's not too bad in fuel saving in that regard. Fuel map 1's there, so the fuel levels there going all the way down towards the bottom. And then it does it on performance as well. So obviously the C7 is always going to be bottom there because it actually loses time to fuel saving, which we know if you go and watch that car profile. Lots of information there. Some FAQs in the description if you're struggling with all that information. Lots to digest there, and it will be put on the website soon. I have explained that before. Go to the tyre wear test, and what we do here is we just keep going around the oval until that tyre wear, the first tyre, runs out. That's all we do, okay? Flat out, keeping the inside line, and we just go and we add up all the time at the end. So that's what we're going to do here. Now, this tyre test, I've been doing several other tyre tests, and they all just have their weaknesses. Whether it's MR versus FR, basically the weakness of each car is shown. So in this tyre test, and I've explained it before as well, you're going to have to look at this from an MR versus MR perspective and an FR versus FR perspective, and I may actually start showing that in terms of the results as well. Heading towards the line then, we're getting very close to ending the fuel test there. It's just dropped off there, as you can see down that bottom left hand side. So the right rear tyre, which is the main tyre that goes first here, because it's an oval, of course, that's the one that goes. So what we do now then is we take lap 1, the out lap, and we add it to the time you can see there, the 50.105, and that gives us our overall time in terms of how long the tyres lasted. Let's have a look at that in terms of the leaderboard then, which is what we do here. And you can see it's better than its predecessor by a significant amount. So it's better in that regard, but it's still low. It beats the Alfa Romeo 4C, which is interesting. That was actually quite a surprise to me. But remember, it's a bit more unstable, so that tyre wear could come back and bite it when it starts sliding about a little bit more. In terms of the summary and overall lap times, though, it comes home in P2 there. Still nearly a second off the Toyota Supra, but even so, it's still better than quite a few other cars there. So the Audi R8 LMS Evo, not a bad car in the grand scheme of it. It's stability which causes issues for that car. It really is the stability, because as it starts to slide a bit the rear end, that tyre wear is going to come off even more, isn't it? And that's where the Alfa Romeo may jump it. But there's no way to test that properly, as I've explained in the past. That is going to be it, though, in terms of this car profile. If you did like it, give it a like, subscribe to the channel to stay in touch with all the latest content, including the car profiles that are to come. And do let me know what you want to see in Beat the Meta, and therefore a car profile in the comments. I'll say that is it for me. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in another video or live stream again very soon.